Two researchers went looking for millionaires. So naturally, they started in the nicest neighborhoods they could find. Big houses, nice cars, the whole picture. And they found something strange. A lot of the people living in those houses didn't actually have much money. They just looked like they did. Then they went and checked somewhere else entirely. Ordinary streets, regular cars, nothing that would make you look twice. And that's where most of the actual money was. If that surprises you, you're about to understand why almost everyone is looking for wealth in exactly the wrong place. This wasn't a guess. It was 2 decades of actual research. Thomas Stanley spent most of his career studying wealthy people. And here's a detail I like. He wasn't from money himself. His dad drove a subway car. Maybe that's part of why he noticed what he noticed. He wasn't assuming what wealth looked like. He was actually checking. And what he found became a book called The Millionaire Next Door. It sold millions of copies. And 30 years later, people are still talking about it because the core idea turned out to be one of those things that's obvious once you hear it and completely invisible until you do. So here's what he actually found. Most people assume wealth and spending go together. Big house, expensive car, wealthy person. Makes sense, right? Except Stanley's research found the opposite pattern, over and over. The people who looked the richest were often the ones spending the fastest. High income, high expenses, not much left at the end of it. Meanwhile, the people who actually had money tended to live in pretty ordinary houses, drive pretty ordinary cars, in pretty ordinary neighborhoods. Here's a number that stuck with me. Stanley found that how much someone earns only explains about 30% of how much they actually end up worth. 30%. Which means the other 70% is coming from somewhere else entirely. Not the salary. What happens to the salary after it arrives? 2 people can earn exactly the same amount and end up in completely different financial places because income was never really the deciding factor. Think about someone you know who seems to be doing really well financially. Nice car, nice place, always seems comfortable. Honestly, do you actually know whether they have real savings, or are you just going off what it looks like from the outside? Comment below. Honestly assume or actually know? I have a feeling most of us are guessing. Here's the part that actually explains why this happens. Looking wealthy costs money. All the time. Every single month. The nicer neighborhood means a bigger mortgage. The nicer car means a bigger payment. And once you're surrounded by other people spending at that level, it gets harder to be the one who doesn't. We've actually talked about this exact pull on this channel before. The way your spending tends to match whoever you're comparing yourself to, without you really deciding that on purpose. So the person in the expensive neighborhood isn't necessarily bad with money. They're just constantly spending to keep up with a standard that keeps quietly rising around them. Meanwhile, the person in the ordinary neighborhood isn't fighting that pull nearly as hard. Their normal is just lower, which means more of what they earn actually gets to stay theirs. It's not about being frugal or disciplined. It's about which starting line you're running from. So, 3 things worth taking from this. 1. Stop using other people's spending as your measuring stick. If your sense of normal is set by a neighborhood, a friend group, or a feed, you're not actually choosing your spending. You're just matching someone else's. 2. Check your own 30%. Remember, income only explains about 30% of what someone ends up with. So if you've been thinking a raise will finally fix everything, it might help, but it's not the whole story. What happens to the money after it lands matters just as much. 3. Ordinary is not the same as behind. If your life doesn't look particularly impressive from the outside, that was never actually the scoreboard that mattered. One more thing worth knowing, and it connects to something else we've covered here. Stanley's research found that about 80% of millionaires are entirely self-made. Only about 1 in 5 got any real money from an inheritance. So if you're starting from nothing, you're not starting from behind the group that actually built most of this wealth. You're starting exactly where most of them did. If you want the full detail behind all of this, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley is genuinely worth reading properly. Links in the description and pinned in the comments. The house doesn't tell you who has money. The car doesn't tell you either. The only thing that actually tells you is what's quietly happening underneath all of it, month after month, completely invisible from the outside. You've been comparing yourself to a picture that was never actually accurate in the first place. Send this to someone who needs to hear that. Subscribe if you're tired of knowing what to do and still not doing it. I'll see you in the next one.